across North America on movie screens, dinosaurs are coming back to life today in the new movie Jurassic Park.
It was fantastic. It was so scary.
It really was the most exciting film I've ever seen.
Well, I'm still shaking from it. It's scary.
The thrills never stopped. It was amazing.
Tyler, it's dinosaur time. Or should I say, it's giant mutant lizard time. Because the monsters in this movie are mostly just made up creatures, as far as I can tell. But I
think there's maybe one T-Rex.
Yeah.
I think the rest are just complete made up monsters.
Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself as per usual. First things first, leave us a like and subscribe and leave us a comment about our opinions, good or bad, it doesn't matter, we can take it. Today, Tyler and I are gonna have a little bit of a chat about the newest, shiniest Jurassic World movie. Arguably the second big blockbuster film of the summer, following Formula One copyright symbol, the movie with Brad Pitt. So we should start maybe with Tyler. What is your relationship to the Jurassic Park / World franchise? Like, well, do you like them? Do you hate them? Like, what's your opinion?
Yeah, so Jurassic Park, I suppose if you say Jurassic Park franchise, great. Love
Okay.
it. Jurassic World sucks.
All right.
The bar was set very high. You know, the first Jurassic Park film is probably one of the best films ever made, in my opinion, and I know many others feel the same way.
Wow, high praise from Tyler. Yeah,
It gets into my probably top 10, maybe top 20 films of all time. So entertaining and
really,
yeah, holds up so well. You know, it's a film that I can stick on, you know, every year at least, and thoroughly enjoy the experience of watching it every time. And yeah, still holds up today. I've watched it in the last 6 months again and absolutely loved it. And the second one's pretty good too. Not obviously, it's a big drop off from the first one still, but I enjoy the second
it's still
one.
Spielberg, so
Yeah, you know, there's lots of elements of the second one I enjoy. The third one I haven't seen for a while, and that's the one with like the dinosaur going through the city, isn't it?
the second one is the one with the
yes,
T-Rex going.
that happens
the
at
Lost
the end,
World,
doesn't it? Yeah.
The third one is kind of like a retread of the first one, and you got Sam Neill comes back in the third one. William Macy and what's it? Yeah,
That's the third
the-
one. So yeah, and that's the one that starts out on the little island and with the little
with the kid.
dinosaurs kill the kid.
Yeah.
And yeah, and William Macy's looking for his daughter who might be left on the island. Reconnects with his wife.
Did they actually kill the kid, or was it just like, I don't remember if they actually killed the kid.
I feel like at the beginning, I thought a kid dies at the beginning of that film.
Maybe they scared the kid, and that's like about it. I don't think that the franchise goes as dark as to kill a kid in the first 5 minutes of the movie, but
because
I might be wrong.
Isn't he's like parasailing, like paragliding, and they get disconnected, don't they? And
yeah, they need to find their son somewhere.
Yeah, but I think there's a little girl at the beginning of the film, and there's
it's the cold open kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they all get killed at the beginning of that cold open, but I might be missing.
I hope so. That's something that this movie is clearly lacking.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I would have loved.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I would have loved a kid death in this new one.
Which one?
Those original 3 films, first one, absolute 10 out of 10, love it. The next 2 are good, have some really enjoyable moments, you know, definitely harken back to that first one still. You know, there's like an action set piece, I'm pretty sure, on the second one, where that bus is falling off, that car's falling off the side of the building, which is very similar to the really good action scene in the first one with the car and the T-Rex.
Yeah.
And then Jurassic World it reminds me a lot of The Force Awakens. It's your classic, it's your classic soft reboot. Yeah, classic soft reboot, really safe, but you know, still decent. Had some enjoyable moments, very forgetful characters.
Yeah.
And then they just absolutely fall off a cliff after that. I feel like the second one, and I don't think I've even watched the third one of that trilogy, where they start getting into cloned children and
I
black
did,
market
unfortunately.
black market sales of dinosaurs in this underground VIP ring and all this nonsense.
Oh man, yeah, it becomes very, very dumb. But yeah, I am on the same boat as you. Maybe I don't quite love the franchise. I mean, the first few movies as much as you do. I like the franchise. I was a dinosaur kid, so it had an appeal for me growing up. And the first one is, as you said, it's great, it's iconic, it's Spielberg, obviously an incredibly important movie, especially for technological advancements in CGI. Like the behind the scenes of that film is almost more interesting than the movie itself. Like the way they created technologies to
How
bring
dare
these
you?
monsters to life. I mean, no, I mean, I like the movie. I'm not saying, but it's so interesting. That's a testament to how cool the technology and all the problem solving that went down behind the scenes to make this movie come together the way it did. So
Yeah.
I think it's a very cool thing that makes the movie stand out even more. So it's a good movie, and I grew up with it, and it's the two sequels I also like, and as you mentioned, like I mean, I probably the second one is my least favorite of the three, even though the third one is universally considered to be the low point of the trilogy. And the reason is that I remember liking the movie as a kid just because it had a dinosaur that I liked a lot in it, the Carnosaurus or something like that. And, like my critical skills haven't evolved much since, but like I
Yeah.
think that's the reason why that movie sticks out in my mind more. And it had some memorable moments, the pteranodons like flying. Yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff. And the director of the third one is Joe Johnston, who's actually like not a bad director at all.
Following two films have their flaws. There's some interesting characters still in
Oh,
them, and
totally.
and
There's always
memorable as
some
well.
always something redeeming the movies for sure. I mean, the second one is still Spielberg. It's probably the only sequel he's ever done. So clearly he cared about the franchise enough to try. They're not as good and they're not nearly as universally revered or liked, and but they're masterpieces compared to the Ward trilogy,
Oh
as
my
as we should
god,
call it.
yeah.
But in my opinion, they started kind of strongly with the first Jurassic World. I mean, I don't like it, but it was, as you said, it was a soft reboot in an era where all franchises were kind of doing soft reboots. And for a soft reboot, it was decent. Like, it was fun. It had all those, nostalgia moments that kind of like made you go, oh, yeah, I remember this. And at the time, it still felt novel to do that. Like, it wasn't everywhere. It wasn't every piece of media trying to kind of like poke at your nostalgia that way. And honestly, like you criticize the character, and I agree with you that they do not evolve in an interesting way. But the concept of like Chris Pratt as this stock cool guy dinosaur trainer person was kind of cool. And
Was
Bryce
it?
Dallas Howard in the first one
Was it?
was also, I think, to be fair, an interesting character. Like she was kind of unique if you compared it to like everything else that they've done. Like she
She
was
was
a
the best bit of that first film, I'd say.
she's a corporate stooge who's all work and no play, and
Yeah.
she has to go way out of her comfort zone to save her nephews, and she becomes entangled with Chris Pratt's character. I think uh, those things could have worked in a better movie.
There was a thing. They were definitely
Yeah,
doing a thing.
they were trying to do the thing.
This
Yeah,
whereas
uh,
this one does no thing.
but the worst thing that the Word movies, including the first one, have done that carries over to this movie that we're going to discuss shortly is introducing new made up dinosaurs into the lore and into the like the story of the franchise.
I thought you were going to say because that definitely too, but also the trend of no practical effects whatsoever
Oh
was
yeah. Oh my
begun
god.
was begun on Jurassic World. I haven't seen it for a while, but I remember. I'm pretty sure all the dinosaurs are pretty much all CGI, and
They always have that one obligatory scene that is kind of like the scene in the first Jurassic Park where Sam Neill is like laying over the Triceratops.
I mean,
And there
do
was a
they?
like a huge, yeah, they have a huge practical like dinosaur in the scene. And so like I think in Jurassic World they had like a similar scene where like Chris Pratt is like interacting with a real dinosaur, like was like a brontosaurus neck, kind of like it was similar in that sense that they
Yeah,
had one scene just like to pay lip service to the idea of practical effects,
yeah,
and then everything else was CGI. And I think there's one scene here that was also like that, and we're gonna get to it.
yeah. Is it with the big Titanosaurus and the doctor
Yeah,
when he cries?
yeah, exactly, when he touches the leg. Yeah, that was the one. We'll get to that. First, I wanted to say about these made-up dinosaurs. Like, I guess you could argue all these dinosaurs are made up. Like the Velociraptor in the first one wasn't really a Velociraptor, but the name sounded cool, so they used it on a different dinosaur. And like even the T-Rex as it appears in the film, it doesn't really look like the original monster. Like and you know, the understanding that we have of how dinosaur kind of looked has evolved since the first movie and the book it's based on. So you know, this is all a fantasy. And you know, it's an iconic look that they can't just like shred and do something new. But it's not accurate,
Yeah,
but it's cool.
and it's Jurassic Park which shaped people's perception of
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 dinosaur, yeah.
dinosaurs looking more amphibian or reptilian, whereas I
Instead of
think
like birds, yeah.
current science now knows that they're more avian, they're more bird-like, and a velociraptor is probably more like a massive turkey than
Yeah.
a massive lizard. Which you know, I was always disappointed when Jurassic World came about and they didn't try and incorporate that because
They try to justify why they look different because they use different DNA strands,
yeah, they're
which is
using like
fine.
frog DNA to meld the strands together, which was fine. But I think you could have a really cool looking dinosaur that is feathered in one of these movies, but
Absolutely, yeah.
they've
And I
never
keep
bothered.
waiting for them to do it, but they never do. And also, I feel like on paper, the main appeal of a movie like this is that you can see these incredible creatures from millions of years ago recreated with cutting edge CGI. And if you're just making up monsters, what's the point? I might just as well watch some fantasy movie if
Yeah,
you're just
it's
gonna make
It's
whatever. Like,
Godzilla versus Kong basically at this
yeah,
point.
like we have like fucking Nazgul looking fucking dragon creatures at some point here, and I'm like, what am I even looking at? Like, what's this? Why is it? It doesn't look like anything. It looks like a fucking cartoon.
Even the little
Um,
baby, like I think it's called a
yeah,
triceratops. Like
it's
they're
not a triceratops. They only have a face of a
exactly.
triceratops, but
It's
then
just
they
like
move like a lizard dog. I
yeah.
was so confused. I was so frustrated because you can just make a little triceratops and it's fine and it's to look really cute. I don't know.
And maybe they think
Anyway,
that's not being creative enough, but actually it's devoid of creativity when you're just making these
oh my
monsters like
god,
this.
I was so confused. Jurassic World, huge success, obviously. So, you know, we got two horrible sequels that we will not go into, both forgettable and boring
Annoyingly,
and
the
weird.
second one did really well as well. I think the third one dropped off commercially a little bit, but I think the second one did like 1 billion as well at the box office, which is just it's just
Yeah,
depressing.
yeah, yeah. They made so much money, and the third one was a little bit diminishing return, but they did bring back some of the original cast, as this type of movie often does. You know, when they are not,
God, yeah, and they were
they don't know
absolutely
what to do.
phoning it in. Sam Neill, Laura Dern.
I mean, that was a highlight in an otherwise incredibly dull sequel. I felt like their storyline was probably the best part, even though I remember very little of it. You know, as you said, they consistently made money for Universal. So 32 years later, here we are with Jurassic Park 7 slash Jurassic World 4 Rebirth, which is
Jurassic Park 7, Jurassic World Rebirth 4. This is the world we live in.
It's a 2025 American science fiction action thriller, as it is described on Wikipedia, even though I haven't seen any thrills in this film. Directed by Gareth Edwards and written by David Cope. And Cope is actually the screenwriter responsible for the original Jurassic Park script and its sequel, The Lost World.
Oh my god.
And this was one of the selling points for the sequel, for this sequel.
Jesus.
Like, oh, they
What a
were
f-
bringing back the screenwriter.
What a
Like the
fall
best
from
part of
grace.
Jurassic Park has been the screenplay.
And I mean, to be honest, it's it's a Michael Crichton book, isn't it? The original. So
Yeah.
it's I suppose
I don't know.
credit
I
clearly
mean,
goes to Michael Crichton on this one.
that's fair, but also like the first movie in particular has some great memorable lines. Like
It's
all the
perfectly
Jeff
written.
Goldblum, all the Jeff Goldblum lines, the clever girl, all that stuff.
It is
So
beautifully written. It's a smart script. And that's why I'm shocked to hear that it's the same person that came back for this, because there is not a single memorable line.
well, I think because Rebirth comes after Jurassic World Dominion, which was the last of the World trilogy as it was known, which came out in 2022, and I was surprised while I was looking this up because I was like, they're really churning these out. Like it doesn't feel that long ago that we were going to the cinema to watch the new Jurassic World movie. Um, and and apparently Spielberg immediately went to Cope to be like, oh, okay, what do we do next? Let's come back to this franchise. Let's see what we can come up with. And then Gareth Edwards was involved in the project, and he's a very accomplished director. Has made some good stuff, and that's why I was kind of interested in watching this movie, because he usually has this very great sense of scale, and like he can shoot things in a very interesting way, and he can use his budget very efficiently, which, by the way, the budget of this movie 180 million, which is pretty, like, it seems low compared to like comparable movies coming
Yeah,
out, like it.
that is
So
quite low.
that is Garrett Edwards' specialty, to kind of like do everything in pre-production, and like there's never like many reshoots. He knows what he wants to get and how he wants to get it from the very get-go. He has done some cool stuff in the past. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what happens in the movie?
We get our classic cold open here. We
Yeah,
get an introduction. We get this sort of panning shot round to the island where the Jurassic World Park was, and it looks like it's somewhat kind of abandoned, but it's the lab's still working there, but the park
of
isn't
course.
running anymore.
I think this is like a separate island where they were doing experiments, right? Like it's not the island where the park
Yeah,
was, but it's an island adjacent to where the new Jurassic World Park was being built, or
yeah,
something
where
like
they were
that.
doing their research and development stuff.
This is 17 years before the events of the movie itself.
And we get a scene that's ripped straight from Final Destination. We have this flying rapper that's floating through the air, floating through all these rooms, and gets sucked into this vent and shuts down the whole security of this
Which is
incredibly
insane.
dangerous laboratory. At this point, I was already like, well, this film is going to be dumb.
And by the way, first of so many product placements in this movie. It was so distracting. Like Snicker bar in the first shot of the movie, and then we have like so many products like plastered all over the place. They have a scene in a fucking convenience store just to have like all kinds of products show up for a second. It's a bit upsetting,
Well,
honestly.
they gotta
Anyway.
scratch up those funds from somewhere. The security system shuts down on this lab. We get the idea, we get a few flashes of genetically mutated dinosaurs, some crossbreeding here, and we see that these scientists are trying to. It looks like they're creating new types of dinosaurs, and we've seen that before already in Jurassic World and that trilogy. And then we get the big scary dinosaur who we don't fully get to see, sort of escapes from the lab in a
The
very
modified monster.
in
Yeah.
a very non-tension filled scene whatsoever.
Yeah, it was so weirdly done. Like, honestly, it felt like something was missing. I didn't feel the fear. I didn't feel like the anticipation of like
It
it,
was too
it's the
rushed. We
yeah.
didn't get any time with with these two characters who kind of have this moment of, oh, I have to leave him behind as he's trapped behind the door. We didn't, we don't care about these people at all. So why would we feel any tension?
You're still questioning the logic behind a rapper shutting down an entire like
Yeah,
security system, and
exactly.
then he's dead, and we move 17 years in the future to the present day, and you're like, oh, okay, so I guess that's gonna come into play later in some way. But yeah.
Well, like we said, the films, the Jurassic franchise typically has a cold open kind of like this, and this is so off the mark here, and it only really comes into play in the last 10-20 minutes of the film. Um,
Yeah.
and so that then when we start the story for real here, we get introduced to Scarlett Johansson's character is called Z,
Zora.
and she's in the car driving through like what seems like New York with this wealthy guy who works for Engine, and he's
Rupert Friend.
yeah, Rupert
Yeah.
Friend, and he
It's not.
is
He works for like a pharmaceutical company, doesn't he? Like, or maybe it's like an Indian like pharmaceutical division or something. Maybe
yeah, okay. I thought it
um,
was an offshoot of Engine as well.
could make sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
could be.
and so we get them driving through New York, and he's offering her the job, and we learn that she's a mercenary, which is funny because I really like Scarlett Johansson.
I do too.
I've liked her in most things I've seen her in. Under the Skin as Black Widow. I think she's fantastic. But here, I thought she was really phoning it in. I just Her performance is so weird, especially at the
Can
beginning
you
of the
blame her?
movie.
Like,
Well, I mean, I can because she hasn't done anything major for a little while, and she's obviously had the fallout with Marvel. So this was a potential to get back into a
like
franchise
a big movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
which typically has been very successful before, and a lot of people picked this one to be the biggest blockbuster of the summer. So
I mean, they're gonna make more of these, and she's gonna be in them. So I think even if she's phoning it in, she's
only
still.
unless it bombs, which
I don't think it will.
do you not think?
I'm not. I do not see this movie not making a profit. First, it cost 180 million.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
that's it.
is it not gonna make that money back and then some?
Yeah, you'd think
Um,
it would. I just really
yes,
hope it doesn't.
it's gonna make at least $600 million. At
Yeah,
least.
you'd think so. People were saying it will be the one film of the summer that hits the billion mark, and God, if it is, then we're gonna get 5 more of these.
I mean, we have Superman coming soon, and that could hinder the box office of Jurassic World a little bit. But people who are gonna watch Jurassic World maybe are not that interested in Superman anyway. So maybe they're not like it's not two overlapping audiences, kind of like with Fantastic Four and Superman. So
Yeah. Well, see, basically, yeah. Should we get an introduction to these two characters? He is your archetypal heartless corporate guy, and we know he's going to be basically like the Paul Reiser character from Aliens. He's going to be the guy who gives them the job, and there's something seedy going on in the background, and actually he will be the one who turns on them at the end. The mission is given to them, and they want to send them to the island to get 3 tissue samples from 3 of the biggest dinosaurs, one who's land faring, one who's in the air, and then a water-based dinosaur. The reason, they want to get the tissue samples from their hearts so they can cure heart disease, basically, and make trillions for this pharmaceutical company. Kind of a ridiculous premise, and then so they go to Jonathan Bailey's character, who is the resident paleontologist who's going to come along
of
the mission
course,
with them. Yeah, and that's basically the setup for the scenario, and that could be a cool setup. You're like, we have these 3 dinosaurs that we have to get to, and they're each
yeah,
dangerous. And they're all
it's a
from a
video game
different.
quest.
It very much is, yeah, and they're all in different environments. We're gonna have to go to the water at this one. We're gonna have to get up high for this one. It's
And actually,
it could have been a
yeah.
good setup.
And in this would have worked so well as a video game. Like, you go to the island, you need to find all these different dinosaurs who have their nest or hiding spot in specific regions of the island, and on the way you need to fight your way through raptors and mini bosses and run away from T-Rexes. and stuff like that. I think it's like you could make it like Shadow of the Colossus, but with dinosaurs and like modern technology, and it would be lit as fuck, if I can say so myself. But as a
Yeah.
movie, not so much.
I mean, it's still
Um,
as a movie this could have been fine, and like I said, this is still a cool, interesting setup for a premise. It's just none of it. I was already completely thrown off. If we, that's sort of the setup of the story, so we can go into sort of more details.
of course,
Um, but I was already thrown off because we have Scarlett Johansson's character Zora or Zara. Was it Zora?
Zora Bennett. The
Zora
names in
Bennett.
this movie, man, are something else. Like,
So forgetful. I can't remember anybody's name, so I'm just going to be referring to them as their actors. But we
well, we
have.
have Dr. Loomis. There's the
Oh yeah, his
paleontologist, and
name's
then
Henry, isn't it? Henry.
Duncan Kincaid is Marshall Ali's character.
Yeah, so we get that set up. I was just thrown off so much by her performance, and she kind of has that happy-go-lucky, oh, this is all going to be a big old jolly, and I'm not taking anything serious. And she's always got a big smile on her face, and she's quippy. I don't buy that from this hardened mercenary spec ops character. It's a silly characterization if you want to have that kind of character, to have them
Yeah.
give them that personality. So I'm already thrown off by that. Yeah, the opening dialogue between Scarlett and the driver is so generic. It almost felt like it was AI generated at this point. They're both just setting up exactly who they are, and it's so obvious where the motivations are going to go with the characters. And she says that's when they go over to Jonathan Bailey's character, and again, also such a silly stereotype of the character too.
Yeah, they try so hard to give these characters like little quirks, like he
When he's
eats
munching on
fucking
that
mints.
mint, oh, that was not funny. It
Um,
was just not funny at all.
dude, my theater was packed to the brim with people, and throughout that whole interaction that was supposed to be humorous, dead silence. Like honestly, like no one was even chuckling. So yeah, didn't land.
He's going to come along the mission, and he just accepts it like that after thinking it's the most terrifying thing possibly. And then they sit across from each other. He munches a mint, and then Scarlett Johansson's like, "Well, shall we then?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's go." And it's all
Yeah,
this. It's kind
I
of like
I
what we said
hate
about
it.
the Last of Us, like the tonal
Yeah.
inconsistencies when you're going into this incredibly dangerous world, into this incredibly dangerous situation, and all the characters are just acting silly, like they're in a kid's cartoon.
It's like I always notice this because as a screenwriting kind of person, like you learn pretty early on, the hero's journey, all these elements that you kind of like need to put into a specific kind of story for it to work in a certain way. And one of the steps that you need your characters to take is the refusal of the call, right? Like you take your character, you put them on a path, but at the beginning of the story, they don't want to go on that path. Think Luke Skywalker in the first Star Wars. He doesn't want to go with Obi-Wan, but then he realizes, oh, my aunt and uncle are dead, so I can go with you and become a Jedi and whatever. So, like in these blockbuster movies, they always feel the need to have some kind of, oh, like we can't have them go on the mission right away. They need to say no first. But like it's so undercooked and just it's just there because they think it needs to be there here. Like both with her, like basically she says, no, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go with you. I'm not gonna do this when she's in the car with the guy with Rupert Friend, and she leaves the car, and then he runs after her and have like 2 more minutes of conversation, and she's like, okay, if you pay me a lot of money, then I will come. And then same thing with the guy. He's like, oh, I can't go because I'm a paleontologist and whatever. And it's like, oh, but you want to come, right? Oh, right, yes, I do.
Yeah,
And
it was fine doing because at least she negotiates a higher fee or whatever. So and then you
that
go,
was
and that
funny.
is her
That was a cute little
yeah,
moment.
that's
Yeah.
her motivation. She wants more money, absolutely fine. But like you said, they should have that refusal to call. But you should add an element of the reason. There's no reason why he switches other than maybe he fancies Scarlett Johansson's character at this point already. But you should have him There should be something on the table, like an option.
They
Hey,
don't go
listen.
anywhere with the romance, I just realized.
No,
Like
they
they
don't.
hint at it very vaguely at a couple of moments, and that's it.
I mean, they
Okay,
don't
yeah.
they don't hint at it vaguely. It's thrown in your face in several scenes, and it's like, yeah, cool. And then they literally don't kiss or do anything at the end, and it goes nowhere, and the film
And
just
for the
abruptly
sequel.
stops. But yeah. So you could have a moment, or a situation where if Jonathan Bailey's character, Henry, if he doesn't come along, then they will not be able to humanely extract the tissue from these animals, and they're going to do it in a bit more of a rough, less caring way to the creatures, and that's maybe his hook for going. He's like, no, I have to go because the safety of the dinosaurs is my utmost importance, and you guys aren't going to do that because you're mercenaries and you're heavy-handed. That should have been a motivation for him to go, rather than just munching on a mint for 30 seconds and then being like, actually, yeah, cool, let's do it.
They didn't think of it.
They
What
didn't
can I
think they
say?
didn't think of fucking anything for this movie.
I mean, trying to look at the positives, even if there's very few things that I can grab onto. But I had some fun with the movie. It was a big, loud cinematic experience. It was silly. I did chuckle a couple of times, even though some of those times I'm pretty sure the chuckle wasn't the intended reaction.
I would love to know.
Um,
I'd love to know the bits that you chuckled at.
some of the stuff with the boyfriend, who I
No,
found insufferable in the beginning, but then it kind of grew on me a little bit.
Oh, Tommy.
Yeah, I get manipulated easily, man.
He was the
Uh,
worst character in it for me.
it
Xavier.
was
He
it
was
was at the beginning.
awful.
He is the only one who has a little bit of an arc. He's the only one, man. Like, think about it. He's actually, like, I thought, oh, they're
Does he?
making him insufferable just because he's gonna be the first one to die. They're gonna set the tone. He's gonna be eaten by the mosasaurus, and that's it. And then he doesn't. He tries to save the girl when she falls into the water, and he develops a little bit of a relationship with the father. Then he disappears from the movie because they forgot that he was in it, and that's a problem. But
But he jumps
they
in. He jumps in to save his girlfriend, like pretty early on in the film. So he's already showing that he's actually, that's something that maybe if you're doing this arc of this kind of lazy idiot
yeah,
type who doesn't know what he's doing, you wouldn't have that moment so early on, and he would do that
yeah,
later in the film. Whereas
you
it's
know,
like
I
they already established it's like, yeah, he's an idiot and he says stupid things and he's your humorous character or whatever, but he is still a good guy and he will save the girl, sort of thing. So I don't actually think there was an arc. His character was already established to be like that early on.
I mean, yeah, the first scene, he's an asshole in the first scene, and then never again. So I guess you're right in saying it. But like, I felt like his character, everything else felt so generic. At least like with this little family, there was some humanity thrown into the story with this like very human kind of like, oh, the father doesn't like the boyfriend, but then you realize he's not a bad guy. And then I thought he was gonna die a second time when he goes for a leak, and there's this one of
Did you
probably
say?
the
I knew. I was like, he's gonna start peeing again once the pterodactyl's taken off, and then he starts peeing again. And I assume that's supposed to be comedic. That was supposed to be a comedic
Yeah,
beat.
every moment of humor was telegraphed by the audience like a mile away, like 2 minutes in advance, even before the scene started. Like, everything was so predictable and generic.
And I'm
And
sick of this. I'm gonna be super negative on this film because I hated it, Tommy. I'm sorry,
oh,
but
you're going to be. You're not being it right now.
I hated this film to its core.
Nice.
And I honestly, I'm struggling to find any redeemable features of this film or anything I enjoyed or
I
anything.
mean, visually, there's some stuff. Like, okay, Gareth
Visually,
Edwards.
visually, them walking through the tall, long grass is a cool shot. That's it. I
There
can't really think of much else.
I'm just saying, like, okay, so I went into this movie being like, I'm not gonna love this. There's no way I'm gonna like this as a movie, but at least Gareth Edwards knows how to shoot stuff in an intriguing and
Yeah,
unique way.
everything was in
And
focus.
yeah, well, like, you look at something like The Creator. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. It's like
No,
the
I know it
latest.
though.
It's a very meh sci-fi film, but visually it's really really impressive, and it was
Yeah.
done with a you know comparatively small budget of $80 million. So you're like, okay, what can Gareth Edwards do with Universal level money? Universal being the studio, not like like the power
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
universe in his hands, to bring these creatures to life. And I think the movie does have a couple moments where you go, okay, that was visually interesting, but most of it, unfortunately, is just okay. I mean, the effects are impressive. There's this sequence early on with the Mosasaurus, which is basically like a huge whale. And it looks immaculate, man. The way the scales shimmer with the water and the sun reflection, it's as lifelike as you can get. If I was 10, I'd probably love this movie. But I am not 10, so like, as you mentioned, the
Yes,
stock characters,
if your brain was very underdeveloped, you might enjoy this movie. Yes.
I mean, you can enjoy it for what it is and be like, okay, I don't expect more. But I do expect more from this franchise, even though it hasn't given us more for a very long time. And we get this very stock video game plot, and there's very like a general lack of tension and fear, and it's not enough to keep me invested. And the problem is, I think, that this is basically a B movie with a Hollywood movie budget, which, like most of these Jurassic
Yeah,
movies,
that's kind of the Jurassic
they
Park
that's
style.
what they feel like. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying this disparagingly, oh, it's a B movie like with a big budget. You can have fun with this concept. You can make a crazy movie that's very entertaining. But the fact that these films are made for everyone, and I mean everyone, like my theater was, like every type of human being was in that theater, honestly. This means that they can't really push the boundaries too much in any specific direction. You can't have too much gore. You can't have like really horrific kills. And I think the movie kind of needed
Dis
that, to be honest.
disagree.
You think so? That
Big,
that doesn't need that?
well, just because the first one, Jurassic Park has the massive mainstream appeal, was the biggest blockbuster of that year,
Yeah.
and it when it's a horror, it is a genuine horror film. It is, if it's a scene that's supposed to build tension and be scary, like the Velociraptors in the kitchen or the T-Rex in the car. They don't they
Yeah.
don't break that tension with a silly, stupid joke because they're
That's
worried about the audience being scared. And then when it's it's this wonderment kind of great blockbuster action film, it has those moments too, and it treats it with respect. Whereas
That's what I'm saying. I feel like that we have no tension here. There's no Velociraptor in the kitchen scene, even if they do try to have that. I
yeah,
wasn't
I thought you were
invested at
saying the
all.
sort of core of this kind of film, of the Jurassic film, is so wide in its appeal. It can't go too far in one way or the other. But I think the first one proves that it can, because there's some funny interviews of people
Well,
coming
it
out.
wasn't extreme though. Like, it was fun and it was entertaining and you cared about the character, and that's why some of the scenes feel more intense than they
No,
maybe are.
trust. If you watch, there's a really interesting clips of people coming out of the cinema when Jurassic Park was screening back in the day, and
Uh-huh.
people, it's hilarious because these kids are coming out of the theater being like, "It was a horror film. I've never seen anything like it. It was terrifying," and like, all these people coming out talking about how terrifying the movie was and how in awe they were of it. Like, it's so much of that
Yeah.
first film
I
is a
mean, I guess
straight
we are
up horror
desensitized
movie.
to it. We're desensitized to it, I guess.
Well,
But
no, I
what
don't think it's that, because again, like with
it's
the
just that it's done poorly. Yeah.
yes, yeah, the cold open of Jurassic World Rebirth, that is kind of trying to touch on that original. Oh, we're taking it back to its horror roots. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It
Yeah.
was framed in a very
It
horror.
was deliberate. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then we jump onto the next scene, and people are, Scarlett Johansson's making silly jokes, and people are munching on mints, and it's all happy go lucky, and
And they're explaining this thing about the equator and how the dinosaurs moved to the equator like 1,000 different times
yeah,
in the first half of the
like we
movie.
get it. Like how just think about the way Dr. Grant and what's Laura Dern's character's name? I can't quite remember.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I
you
don't
know,
either, but
Jeff Goldblum, Dr. Grant, and Laura Dern, how serious they take the situation when they're all in the helicopter. They're all like, this is a terrifying situation we're going into. You shouldn't be messing with this stuff. And
yeah,
even more so, after the events of Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, these characters in this film should all know the dangers of this world, but they don't treat it like that at all. There's a really stupid scene when we get the recruitment of Mashallah Ali and Luke Evans and these characters. And the rich man, the businessman guy, is like, "Oh, what? We need security?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course you need security. You're going to a fucking deserted island surrounded by dinosaurs. Did you not watch the last 7 films? The people
uh,
die doing this stuff."
man, yeah. Well, like, okay, so I agree with you and what you said. I guess I didn't express my feelings properly. What I meant is, like, okay, so there's execution lacking in terms of like how the scenes come across. Like they're not intense as they should feel, and so you're like, oh, this movie lacks the teeth, pun intended, of the previous ones. Well, the specifically the first one. What I mean is, like, the deaths also lack that impact that I think some of the earlier deaths in the franchise have. Like, I didn't feel anything when the secondary characters got, eaten by dinosaurs, and you don't see anything. And the only kind of cool death is the last one, the big, the evil guy. I mean, we're
When he
spoiling this, but
leaves
who
his
cares?
arm on the briefcase.
That's the only one where they're kind of like, okay, that was kind of cool. It was a little bit gruesome the way he chopped, like first he hits his head and then he swallows him whole, and the arm comes off. So I feel like, with a 30 years old franchise, maybe you can afford to age it up a little bit and show us something that previous movies didn't. Like, you're still gonna sell toys, you're still gonna sell merch, but maybe you're making a more interesting movie, by kind of like leaning into the gore a smidge more. I'm not saying, fucking show us guts flying around, but
No, yeah, I mean
I
that
think
could be an interesting thing that you did with it, is make it for a more mature audience. But yeah, like, again, to talk back to the first one, the first one doesn't have much gore in it at all, but you still, it's still, you feel the threat, you feel the violence, you feel the
absolutely, yeah.
danger of it all. It's just it's literally about how you execute the build up to those scenes rather
I
than the
feel
actual
like
kill itself.
I feel like the problem is in the predictability of the plot. Like,
Yeah.
the movie starts and you know exactly who's gonna die and who's gonna survive from the get-go, with one
I knew Luke Evans was going to be the first guy to die, because he was the one who. Do you know who I mean by
you,
that? Is his name Luke
I don't
Evans? His name's
I
not
don't
Luke
think it
Evans, is
is.
it?
You said Luke Evans. I think you mean Ed Screen.
Ed Screen, that's it. Yeah, yeah, the guy who
Yeah,
was
I
in
was surprised
Deadpool
he
1.
died. Yeah, my friend turned to me and was like, "Is that the doctor from Deadpool 1?" I was like, "Yes." Do you know what else he was in? In fucking Rebel Moon. He was a villain
Yes,
in that.
he was the space Nazi
He-
from Rebel Moon.
yeah, he has the face for a space Nazi.
And he's usually quite good.
Um,
He's, I like him in most things he's in. He's a good actor,
me
and
too.
but I knew when he was the one who made he was the one who had the only intelligent idea, where he's like, when the family get capsized on their boat, he's like, no, we should, they'll be fine. They've got a rescue boat coming for them. Let's go to the island. I was like, well, this guy, this guy's gonna be the
This
first
guy's
fucking dude to die,
this
because
guy's gonna get it.
he's the only one who's thinking logically here.
He wanted to derail the plot. We need the family on the
Yeah.
film for some reason. Actually, that is one of the things that bother me the most. Like, how the plot with the family and the plot with Scarlett Johansson and the mercenaries felt like two completely separate things. Like, they could have tried to make them work better with each other, like by splitting the team differently. Like maybe just drop a couple of the characters from Scarlett Johansson group with the
Yeah, they
family
get
and vice
split up or
versa.
something, and that's how they
But
meet up.
the family, starts on its own, and then they end up on their own, and they travel on their own for the entirety of the film, and they meet up with the rest of the characters at the end of the story. And I'm like, what is the point of entwining these two stories? And what were they doing in open seas in dinosaur territory? Like, what the fuck? Like, you'd never explained that. I don't think they briefly said, oh, we are
Mashallah
just
Ali's
doing.
character has a go at the dad, doesn't he? Because he obviously lost his child. So he's like, "What are you doing? I can't believe this is so dangerous. It's so stupid." And he's like, "I've done it before." And it's like, well, surely these waters would be sort of closed off from civilian vessels if
So
there's.
they were like doing a little trip before the older daughter went off to college to New
Yeah,
York or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But it's implied. It's never really explained. Anyway, it bothered me that they never really addressed it.
Yeah,
Um,
and like you said, the way these stories intertwine, we have the first sort of, I mean, already Scarlett Johansson as the protagonist, her character is already somewhat assassinated by her silly, happy-go-lucky attitude and just the weird performance she's giving at the beginning for me. But then we get her characterization is given to us by Rupert Friend, the driver. He's like, you're a spec ops, you're no nonsense, you always get the job done. And we know that kind of character is archetypal in these kind of stories. But
of course.
she is not that character at all. The moment there is the mention of, oh, there's this stranded boat, there's some survivors on it. Should we derail the mission or not? She's like, "Yep, let's derail the mission." And it's like, I thought all you
Yeah,
cared about was
maybe.
money and finishing the job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe Marshall Ali should have been the one to be like, "Hey, Zora, I know that you are hard ass, like impossible to reason with, fucking spec ops guy woman. But maybe we should do this because these
He
kids are in
does.
danger."
To be fair, he does also make that decision. He's like, let's add in the new coordinates for the boat. But you can tell she's deciding the same thing. But she should have been against it at that point and should have
They don't
battled
want her
against.
to be unlikable. We can't
Exactly.
have layered, flawed characters in movies anymore, and it is so fucking annoying. Like, why? Like, just make her a bit of an asshole at the beginning, and then she learns to love for some reason throughout the story, and
Wow.
she
Look,
like
you've done it. And then this relationship she has with Jonathan Bailey, who's a more caring, kind, and cares about the world, that makes more sense. And the fact that they get together at the end would be her turn from being this cold, hard mercenary to this
and
character.
also well, I mean, we're spoiling the movie, who cares? But the fact that there's this kind of like moral dilemma throughout the film of, oh, we are doing this for this big pharma
This
guy
is the
who's
biggest
gonna
joke.
is gonna make a trillions out of selling this heart disease medicine to people. And the paleontologist obviously is like, wait, but we should do this for everyone. We should be able to sell this, to give this medicine to all people.
We'll open
Like,
source it and give everybody the pattern.
exactly. And she's like, oh, but I will not get any money if I do the way like you described, because I am working for this person, I am a private contractor. And so, like, you think that the movie, of course, you expect the movie to be like, at the end she's gonna betray the big pharma guy and go
Yeah.
with the paleontologist and give up the money. She doesn't care because she realizes that people need this medicine, and she's gonna do the right thing. But then the big pharma guy is killed anyway. So it's not like she's making a decision, like there's no moral dilemma anymore. She's going with the paleontologist because there's no other option available. Like, she's not gonna be paid anyway because the guy is dead. No one knew about their mission. So, like, what the fuck? Like, the one thing that they could have done with the character was just
And
pointless.
and also Jonathan Bailey asks her at the end, "Yeah,
What should
actually,
we
what do
do with
you
it?
want to do?" And she's like, "Oh, the last time I chatted to you an hour ago, I said I wanted the money, so I'm gonna sell it to Engine and get the money." So that
Yeah.
he didn't know that her decision was gonna be different by this point because nothing has happened to her to motivate her this change or this character arc or whatever. It's the most shallow, superficial turn, in the movie, and you can see it coming from a fucking mile away as well.
Everything about the ending was predictable and boring. The final dinosaur design was laughable, and I don't like these mutant monsters. Like, I much prefer, like, the scene with the T-Rex was kind of fun. It was.
That was the only bit that I mean, I hated this. Just like the rest of the film, I hated the scene because it was dumb, and the
It was
girl, the
dumb.
girl on her own.
And also, isn't the T-Rex supposed to be like half blind? Like, I know that this is nitpicking, like, nerdy shit, and
Yeah, yeah.
maybe, but the fact that he notices this little girl and tries to get her in the water, and then, like, bites through the fucking thing, like the inflatable
The
whatever, and
inflatable
then
raft, that was just, and the
and the
way
raft doesn't break, by the way, which was so funny to me. But yeah,
that bit when
um,
she's, and she pops open the raft and it blows open and she's like standing 10 feet away from a T-Rex. It's like, what are you
and he
doing?
disappears.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
and he
disappears.
disappears behind the thing.
And
Yeah.
you can tell, like, you knew that was going to happen, and it's like, oh, they probably thought this was really cool. It's like, oh, he
The
disappears
T-Rex
behind the
pulled
raft.
the T-Rex pulled a James Franco in Spider-Man 2 when he disappears behind the truck in the coffee shop.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
And like, even in the first one, the T-Rex is incredibly stealthy with his movement, because he appears in the scene at the end, saving the characters without
Oh, yeah,
anyone
yeah.
noticing him arrive.
That's like the one contrived silly bit in that movie, I'd say.
So I guess the fact that he's stealthily moving around and disappearing from
It's
sight,
within
like,
character.
it makes sense, but and it's inherently silly, but I guess it's a reference.
But yeah, it was
Um,
the only time where I saw the dinosaur on screen, and I was like, oh, cool, it's a T-Rex. Because the rest of the time you're thinking, what the fuck is that thing? And it's
And
it's
also, one thing that I was confused about, because then I was discussing this with my friend and my girlfriend, who I went to see it with, because I read online that the T-Rex was gonna be in it, and that the Velociraptors was gonna briefly be in the movie too. So I kept waiting for, like, the obligatory Velociraptor sequence in the movie, and I thought it was gonna happen when they get to the facility at the end,
yeah,
right?
same.
But then we never saw the Velociraptor, and I asked my friend if maybe I missed something, and he was like, "I think the Velociraptors were the ones that they were
They're
kind
in
of
the peeing. They're in the peeing scene.
yeah, they were
Yeah.
stalking. Well, but they were out of focus in the back,
You
and I thought
barely
they had
see them.
scales. I didn't really realize they were Velociraptors, and then they get killed by the flying monster mutated birds.
And
So
there's a couple moments like that one and the very end, which, like, they perfectly surmise what is wrong with this movie. And we have the Velociraptor, which was iconic in Jurassic Park. It's killed by this disgusting mutated genetic freakish dinosaur which doesn't exist, and it's an abomination. And that is Jurassic World Rebirth. There's this flying demented creature, and it's killing this beautiful thing that Jurassic Park was. And I felt the same way when I saw the xenomorph dinosaur at the very end.
I think that, well, it did remind me of a xenomorph, but I think they were doing kind of like Thanos beats the Hulk at the beginning to show that these new creatures are way stronger and way scarier than the Velociraptor.
Yeah, totally,
But-
totally.
but-
Our new things are better than the old things.
But it didn't work. I still like the Velociraptor more.
When I saw the Xeno dinosaur at the end and its mutated head, it's the perfect summarization of the movie. It's an ugly, bastardized version of what we know and love.
The design sucked, man. Like, it was. I am always curious to see these new designs, because they can be kind of interesting. I think in Dominion they had one cool dinosaur that was like a made up, and I think the director was like, oh, this dinosaur is crazy, like the Joker or something like that. I was like, wait, what? And then I went to see the movie, and it was like in a 5 minute sequence. That was one of the better sequences in the film. I was still very forgettable. But this one, yeah, like I don't know what the comparable character is to this, outside of the xenomorph baby, but I hated the design of this. It was such a bad design, and honestly, just fucking give me another T-Rex. I don't care. Like it's
When did dinosaurs become boring? Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's they're pretty damn exciting to see, and as long as they're done well and shot well, they can always be an interesting thing to see on screen.
Yeah, not a great film, we should say. Not a great entry in the franchise, even though I think it's definitely better than the latter two Jurassic World movies. I'd put it on par with the first World film, and this is not high praise. It's just that the first one came after a long hiatus from the Jurassic World universe, let's say, and excitement was at the time through the roof for a new Jurassic movie. So I think the quality is pretty much comparable to that, even though I think the first World movie had better structure, I guess. But this one will leave much less of an impact because it's the fucking fourth dinosaur movie in 10 years. So who cares anymore, honestly? Anyway, I think we don't have much else to say about this. What grade would you give the film?
Ooh, this is getting my lowest grade of the channel so
Oh
far.
my god.
I cannot support films like this. These are the kind of films that are ruining cinema. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact that these are successful, it ruins cinema, and the things like, when the Lion King live action remake is successful, this takes cinema back a step.
Yeah.
And I feel like films like this do that too. And so this is, a 4 out of 10 for me. Um,
Oh, you haven't given a
it's
4
below
yet.
average.
Yeah.
It's below average. It's it only gets that high because it's competent in some areas. Mashallah Ali's character almost has an arc when he sacrifices himself to save the little girl and the family, but then he somehow survives at the end, even though he was literally in the jaws of a
It
dinosaur,
was
and then
so
he just comes out with a
it was
flare.
so
Dumbest
predictable.
ending.
Yeah. I am a little bit more positive as per usual. I'd give it a 5, maybe a 5.5 out of 10. The spectacle was fun in parts. It hits the beats that you expect it to hit, and it has some references to previous movies, obviously, that you can appreciate or not if you want.
The thrills never stopped. It was amazing.